Alright, so let's just get this right out of the way. Cowabunga dudes. There. You happy I said it? So on this episode, we're going back into the superhero realm for a video that you guys voted on wanting to see. So grab yourself a slice and prepare for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The heroes in a half shell have been in every form of media, but we're going to focus on these cinematic entries and figure out if their continuity and timeline takes sense, or if it's completely splintered. Get it?
The pizza lovers made their way onto the big screen in 1990's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They had already dominated the comic book world, as well as TV screens in their animated series. But the film takes us to New York City, and this newspaper seems to say that it's 1990, even though the magazines are all from 1989. There's a crime spree sweeping the city, and no wonder no one can catch them. Look at how inconspicuous that they're being. April O'Neil is here, and no.
Not that one.
This one's fictional. We first see the Turtles in all their glory, and let's get this straight in case you're not a 90s kid. Leonardo is in blue, voiced by Takashi beating on his gong. Michelangelo is in orange, Raphael in red, and Donatello in purple, voiced by, Corey Feldman. And of course, Master Splinter, who is actually voiced by Elmo. And these suits, they're just great. Critters is in theater, which is weird because that came out in 1986, and a guy in a hockey mask shows up and viciously murders them.
Oh, wait, wrong timeline. What is this one again? Oh yeah, Turtles.
This is Casey Jones, played by Elias Koteas, and the Foot Clan is after April because she threatens to expose their evil plan of using teenagers to steal like a whole bunch of stuff.
That's it. That's their whole nefarious scheme.
Splinter tells her that they've been there for 15 years, so since 1975. And Splinter says that before that, he would mimic his master's kung fu, and then came to the US. He found 4 turtles affected by toxic waste that made them all smarter and bigger, but wait a minute. If the radiation made him smart and stuff, then how the hell was he doing kung fu in his cage before this? I mean, he would have to be some sort of super intelligent rat even before the waste. April's boss's kid is arrested, and his arrest report shows the date as September 3rd, 1989, contradicting that newspaper earlier, and the head of the Foot is Shredder, who kidnaps Splinter. There's a bunch of fights that you can kind of see, because everything is really dark, which is weird because it visually appears like they were going for the general aesthetic of the comic series, but then the story...
Ninja, vanish!
Like the cartoon.
Occasionally, the film veers into horror.
There is a freaking mouth inside of his mouth, and that is horrifying.
Then, okay, if you're not a Turtle fan and you don't really care about these movies, maybe you'll change your mind once you see baby Splinter doing karate. Or maybe I can convince you with little baby Sam Rockwell. Casey rescues Splinter, and the Turtles face off against a Shredder who killed Splinter's master, but Splinter gets the final win. Then, Casey Jones just kinda casually murders Shredder. Just to note, in a kid's film, a good guy just horribly crushes the villain in a garbage truck. So that film was a huge hit, making $200 million against a mere $13 million budget, becoming one of the most profitable films of all time. So yeah, you know that a sequel was made, and just 1 year later, in 1991, we saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. We meet Kino, played by Ernie Reyes Jr., the badass martial arts kid from The Last Dragon, here a little older, of course, but still has the moves. The Turtles are here, although the voices for Donatello and Raphael have been recast. April is back, but she's been recast as well into Paige Turco, and they talk about the events of the last film as if they were pretty recent, so not much time has passed. Splinter repeats that they were down there for 15 years, so we're most likely in the same year as the first then, and this would still be 1989. Shredder is revealed to be alive, and the Foot Crew are talking about the last film like it was a day or two ago, so yeah, this is right after part 1. And Sark is here, and he works for a company that is responsible for the ooze that created the team in the first place. Shredder gets his hands on a vial of it and creates this wolf thing and snapping turtle named Taka and Razar. They team up with Kino and the Doc to take them on, and, like most people in this time era, ended up in a club with Vanilla Ice performing.
It was inevitable back then.
Ice just freestyles a rap about the turtles in the club because Vanilla Ice was mostly known for his freestyle skills. And, you know, I watch a lot of movies in which I get mad at the movie, or mad at myself for choosing to watch it, or just plain frustrated that something got made. But this was one of the only times that I just got straight embarrassed from seeing it.
I had to look around to make sure that no one actually saw me watching it.
Hey, we're shaking! Yeah! You like what you saw? Then give it up for a turtle!
Shredder drinks the last vial of ooze, turning into Super Shredder, which, for some reasons, also mutates his outfit, and he's not really defeated, he just drops the roof down on himself, which they seem to think killed him. They go straight home, and there's apparently a newspaper already printed about their club appearance, like, somehow. I think it's supposed to be the same night. That's a really fast printing press. So, even though the second film was not the success that the first one was, it still made money. So, in 1993, the trilogy is completed with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. It starts in 1603 and it bounces to modern times, and the crew is back with new suits, but now no longer by Jim Henson's team. The Felled Dog has returned as the voice of Donatello, but Raph's voice has changed yet again, and April's back. And this magical staff swaps her in time with Kenshin here, and oddly, it swaps their clothes. And I guess they still fit? Does that mean he's wearing her underwear now? The spell let her keep her headphones, but nothing else. Splinter's voice is different now too, and I know it's a rat and all, but I could not move past this. After taking the last movie off, Casey's back, and when the Turtles want to go back in time, Mike wants them to put on pants so when they switch, the people that cross over won't be naked, and Splinter says no.
We have no time for this scientific debate.
It's not a debate, and it would take them like a minute to put on pants. Did you just want to see some naked people, Splinter?
They save April and team up with a guy who looks like Casey, and oddly enough, even though this is Japan, everyone speaks English. Quick side question, do the Turtles ever take their bandanas off, even when they're just, like, hanging around? I mean, they're always wearing them. And, what are these gaps under them? I mean, they're not eye holes for the actors, because these are actual turtles here. There's a line that genuinely made me laugh out loud.
Use your tail.
We're naked.
And final showdown in which the main villain falls to his death. I mean, I guess he dies, he just kinda disappears. They all get home, and they never give a time frame for this one, and here's where it gets weird. The opening text places the film in 1603, yet the poster says it takes place in 1593, and then the other poster says it's the most exciting adventure in 400 years, which tells me that they intended it to take place in 1993, 400 years after 1593, even with the title glitch. So, if this is 93, it's 4 years after the first two, and the Turtles would be 19 years old and on the edge of no longer being teenagers. There were several failed attempts to make a fourth film that never happened, one called The Next Mutation, and another called The Foot Walks Again, but neither of those happened. There was a live show that stemmed from the movies that gave us this magic moment.
Guys, let me ask you this. Do you sometimes wish that April was a turtle?
Whoa, definitely.
Conceptually, that works for me.
You know, I've been trying to...
Where you going?
Oprah.
Man, I cracked myself up.
Oprah, I've been trying to talk her into an interspecies relationships for months now.
Whoa, Raph, chill, man.
And she won't do it,
She
huh?
can't hold her breath.
No, she can't do it.
The biggest problem is she can't hold her breath long enough, you know?
Well, okay, coming up, the Turtles are going to perform their hit. Did you want to say...
There was a sort of follow-up that came out in 2007, 14 years later, with the TMNT animated film, which opens with a recap that could possibly be talking about the original films or set up a new continuity. It starts 3,000 years ago, introduces an ancient evil, and then bounces to what it says is present day, although if it were 07, they would be 32 years old, and not quite teenagers anymore. April's back, and the boys have grown apart, and the New York skyline is missing the Twin Towers, which were present in the original films, so it's clear that 9/11 did happen in this timeline and were definitely post-2001, as long as events happened the same way in this universe. April also has a flip phone, which wouldn't exist in the 90s, so it's looking like we're definitely closer to 07 than 93. April is voiced by Buffy, and Casey is voiced by Captain America, and Patrick Stewart here is teamed up with the Foot Clan to capture 13 beasts, including the Bigfoot. Splinter watches the Gilmore Girls, which ran from 2000 to 07, so we're definitely not in the 90s anymore, but they keep talking about the Turtles like they're kids and not grown-ups, and they talk about taking out Shredder like it was pretty recent. So I think it's safe to say that this is a reboot and not in continuity with the original films. Eventually, there's a big final fight, and they manage to defeat all of the villains, and Splinter places Winter's helmet amongst his trophies, and Shredder's helmet is there, as well as the ooze canister and the time scepter from the second and third films. So it's clear that the events of the first three movies were to have happened, so this is an in-continuity sequel shifting into a reality where the events occurred at a later date, like real-time 07, or this is a really short time after the third one, like 1 year later, and this is an alternate universe, 1994, but I think it's more likely that this is 07. Well, 7 years later, the official reboot happened from Michael Bay, who gave us the Transformers reboot.
This is going to be better than Nose, right?
It starts by setting up that Shredder's around, and April's here looking foxy, or Megany. And also, come on! Whoopi's here, and so is the Fickner. We actually see Shredder's face, and although the character was in the animated version, we get our first live-action Karai from the comics. A security cam gives us a hard date of March 13th, 2014, and April discovers the Turtles, now completely CG creations with, noses.
Hey, Internet. You made them fix Sonic. Where were you on this?
Leo is voiced by a jackass, and April has stuff showing experiments with the Ooze and Splinter from 1999, which would place them at 15 years old again. Splinter isn't a sensei and is instead a monk, and in this one the Turtles and Splinter used to be April's pets, which is a really odd kind of coincidence. Sax here works for Shredder, and oddly enough was originally intended to be revealed to be Shredder until they changed it mid-shoot. The Shredder suit looks like like really hard to walk in, and the crew gets captured except for Raphael. Sax's plan is to unleash a virus in New York, and he wants to use the turtles' blood as an antidote to save the city, and then get a government contract and stuff like that. These turtles are bulletproof and have a face-off in New York City with the Shredder, while April and Vern take out Sax. Their big fight destroys a big 2014 sign, further cementing the date, and the Swiss Army villain takes a fall, but seems alive, I guess, and they fix Splinter. So that was a hit, making $500 million, so of course they made a sequel with 2016's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, although Knoxville declined to return as Leo. A Jumbotron says the events of the last film were 1 year ago, so we're in 2015 now, and this magazine is reporting about it a few months later since that film happened in March, and the date on the magazine is July 14th, and I guess that his spree began back in December of 13, although I don't know how they got the picture of him in the suit since he got it during the events of the film, so he wouldn't have had it yet in December. And then there's 2 different magazines about Shredder's defeat, and one of them is from July 14th and the other is from December 13th, so I guess forget those dates and focus on the fact that Shredder grew hair. There's a bunch of other magazines, all with 2014 dates, and Vern is back, as is April O'Neil.
No, still not that one. Get your mind out of the gutter, people. Jeez, what's wrong with you?
This one. We meet Baxter Stockman, sans the Medea suit, and April has to dress up in a schoolgirl outfit because of an extremely logical plot reasons. I mean, this was totally necessary. This change also makes her shirt change, her shirt transform, and her stockings shrink like magic. It's Halloween, so we're in October of 2015 then, and man, like even Shredder's scars have shrunk. We meet Casey Jones, who's wearing a lot less green than normal, and Splinter's back, and they have the party wagon because, you know, they're trying to be inconspicuous. Shredder was born in 1947 on my birthday, and he's apparently 67 years old, so I guess exposure to the mutagen just made him younger? I guess it explains the scar healing and hair restoration as well? He was also booked on what looks to be August 8th of 2014, so either the events of the first film took place over several months, which isn't true, it's just a couple of days, or it took them a really long time to book him, or someone goofed up on the paperwork. We meet Human Bebop and Rocksteady, and the Foot accidentally sends Shredder to another dimension where he meets Krang, and I can't believe it took them 6 movies to get to that guy. He's a brain living in a robot belly, so that's like box office gold. Laura Linney classes things up a bit, and Rocksteady's booking date is also 8/8/14, so yeah, there's a paperwork glitch there, and B&R get mutated into the forms that we're familiar with. Casey finally suits up, and the ooze might make the turtles human, so they want to try to get it. Their existence is revealed, and why are they worried here? They're bulletproof. The portal gets opened, and Krang brings over the Technodrome, and he betrays Shredder, and there's a big final fight over New York. And then Casey, who wears the mask for like 3 seconds in this movie, closes the portal, banishing Krang back home, and the turtles go on, but the movie didn't really do anything close to what the first one did, and any plans for a third entry were just scrapped. Although another reboot does lurk on the horizon, this one in another animated film, but no news so far.
So there you have it, 6 movies that obviously have at least 2 distinct timelines within them. The first 3 movies definitely have a continuity between them, and it seems as if they share a continuity with the animated film, although definitely a sliding timeline in there. But the first 3 actually did have a pretty solid continuity. They did flow into each other. Things did kind of make sense, more or less, for the most part. And the newer ones obviously had a good amount of continuity between them. Having the same team behind it actually made it work. It was more bearable than the Transformers movies, but they really weren't that great. Overall, these movies in general, if you have a certain amount of nostalgia for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I'm sure these are worth watching. I will confess that I was not a turtle watcher. They were kind of not in my generational zeitgeist. I was a little older when they came out and became popular. I did read the comic book, but never really got into the cartoon and toys and such. So I don't have the same nostalgic connection to this that a lot of people do. I did enjoy the first movie. The first movie actually had an interesting tone to it that darkness kind of balanced out with the kid stuff a little bit more, was a little bit more interesting. After that, it just became a lot more kid-oriented. And I just didn't care for the remake versions whatsoever. They didn't do it for me. If it did it for you, just let me know down below. Let me know what you think of the Turtles, and obviously in all of the various forms of media. We're not covering any of the comic books, the cartoons, the toys, any of the video games, all that stuff. That obviously there's so much more Turtle things out there, but this was just the movies. Let me know what you thought of those down below. Like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Check out my patrons over here because these guys help keep the channel going. You can too by going to patreon.com/movietimelines and helping to support the channel. I would appreciate that very much so. And I thank you very much for watching this video. We'll see you very shortly for another one. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.